Something a little creepy about the Victorian era was possibly body image. They really, really wanted to look sick. And I'm not kidding about wanting to look sick. This is what Charlotte Bronte had to say of tuberculosis. Consumption, I am aware, is a flattering malady.
Oh my God. Didn't she have her sisters die of it before they were even 30?
Yes. I think she goes on to talk about how awful the actual death of it is, but it was considered flattering to look thin and ghostly, have your veins showing, rosy cheeks, sparkling eyes. Sparkling eyes were such a thing, actually, that women would put lemon juice in their eyes to make them water.
Oh my God.
Yes. And then the red lips, which this is all signs of a fever, if you ask me. When you see your child looking like all of this, you're like, oh, you have a fever.
Right.
And then you put your hand on their forehead, and sure enough, they do.
All of that reminds me of heroin chic from the 90s, but it's in the Victorian era.
Oh, absolutely it is. That's the first thing I thought of when I saw it. Now, you might say, okay, looking like you have a fever and you're dying is considered beautiful. Isn't that strange? Yes, it is. In fact, it gave you a social status because they thought that if you got sick with consumption, that you were actually born with an inclination to the disease. And it was possibly triggered by, too much dancing, too much socializing, too much mental exertion.
Oh, wow.
Right.
So social distancing would have been a good thing for them.
It would have it. But if you were social, which meant that you were in the upper crest of society.
So it was almost a social standard if you had it? Oh,
yes.
Wow.
Weirdos. I'm sorry, y'all. That is weird. And I just don't give them any clout for that.
Monica, this next one, I don't know why I remember Bette Midler talking on a late night talk show about how she had a tapeworm and she lost a ton of weight. And she was super excited about it. She's like, yeah, but eventually I had to take the tapeworm out and blah, blah, blah. So eating tapeworms were a way to get thinner.
Ew. Zach thought he had a tapeworm in college. That's funny because he is so skinny, but no, he just was skinny. But yes, you.
I'm tempted. I got to lose the COVID-19 fast.
Right. Oh my goodness. If you go back to Victorian era newspapers, you can see where you can write a letter and send a little money and they'll send you back a tapeworm. Yes.
I don't even know what to say.
I don't either, other than they were desperate to look like the ideal female body at the time, which was basically defined by that tight corseting.
26, 34.
Yeah, 20. No, it was 16.
36, 24, 36.
Right, which I think sounds okay. But they wanted
16 inches?
16. I think my neck might be 16. Let me measure it. No.
Yeah. Well, wait, everybody hold on.
Yeah, no.
No, that's amazing because other cultures had their own beautiful definition. Mm-hmm. So you hear about binding feet in Japan.
Yes.
Where it stunted the growth of the feet.
Deformed them.
Yes, it deformed them. So this is actually, a 16-inch waist. Vera Ellen from White Christmas might be the only person that I can think of that maybe possibly had it naturally.
Yeah, my mom had an 18-inch waist. I know that, but she also had mononucleosis right before that.
Sure. In college or high school at one point, we all had it. But as a 40-year-old woman, that's completely weird.
So it's much like the foot binding. I'm glad you brought that up because what the corset did over time, and they would start corseting girls at a young age, is it actually brought in your rib cage. So your rib cage actually flares out. It's more like a triangle, like a ladder. Don't walk under it. But what they did is they made it more of a V. So they inverted it almost. And so what that did is it pushed your organs all around in your body. They do think that did contribute to some of the fainting during the Victorian era because Victorian women were notoriously dramatic emotionally, and they like to faint a lot.
Wow.
Now, some of that would be for attention. Some of that would be because that was what was expected, but some of it was because they simply couldn't breathe.
Well, nowadays it's still kind of popular, except now they call it waist training?
Yes. So I did do something similar after I had both of my children. I did get a corset. I put it around my hips because when you are pregnant, your hips spread. And after you give birth, your hips are still in that malleable time. And so you can make them go back in by doing that. That is different than taking your natural form. A child.
Like my little tiny daughter when she hits puberty, and tying something super tight around her to deform her.
Exactly. So this is just kind of getting back to what you were before versus, like you said, doing this to a child or a teenager or a woman in her 20s or 30s or 40s. That's awful. So that's their body image. I think that we probably, as women, there has always been a body image to maintain. I have been studying this in the past. It's very interesting, and it's not always skinny. It's not always voluptuous, and each culture defines it differently, and each period in time does. It's very interesting. So the Victorians were just like everyone else as far as that goes. They had a body image and people were trying to maintain